you can summon the power of your ancestors! ! But I wanted to ask you if we could do it before I make that very bold
No,
claim.
I think you call it necromancy for children.
Yeah.
The number one thing that predicts the self-assurance and the high functioning, the emotional resilience and happiness of a family and of children is knowledge of their family history. More than having two parents in the home, more than socioeconomic status or education.
What? Repeat that. That's intense.
It was knowing their family history. And 9/11 happened, and they went back to look at the kids who knew their family history. And the ones who knew their family history recovered from the emotional trauma of 9/11 faster than the kids who didn't.
I think there's actually more to this on the other side of the veil than we like to think about.
The way you view yourself, it changes your memory, collective memory. And the researchers found this. They found that intergenerational memories were created.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Midnight Strike to Mormons. I am your host, Cardinals, and today I'm joined in the studio by Kwaku L. and Brad Whitbeck and Jonah Barnes, author of the cool book, I Am My Ancestors, getting kids involved in genealogy. Now, before you just yawn and move on, this is actually a really cool and important book that I very much enjoyed, that opened my eyes to a lot of things that really I think we're missing in modern Mormonism. I think in the church we relegate genealogy for the old people, as Kwaku calls them. What are they? Cotton tops?
Cotton tops? Yeah, cotton tops.
Yeah, the cotton tops.
Blue hairs.
The blue hairs. Yeah. The people that just hang out in the genealogical library, and we're grateful because when we ring the doorbell, they can open so we can go and play basketball.
The Kneaders feeders.
You know, the Kneaders. I've never heard that one before.
Like Kneaders Bakery in Provo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, it's also for us. And who better to talk to than the author of the children's book and workbook of genealogy, one Jonah Barnes.
That's right.
Who's a musician, a comedian, a bon vivant, and also an author of this.
What was that French thing you just said?
I don't speak German. What's bon vivant?
Isn't bon vivant, does that mean a man about town in French?
Oh, I still don't know what that means.
I think it's a bon vivant.
Even in English, I still don't know.
I
what
would
it
need
means.
you to say it pretending like you're a duck so I could understand the French-Canadian version of what you just said. Oh, yeah, that's what you mean.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, here's the book. I Am My Ancestors. This is rad. So what's the story of this book, bro? Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on your show.
Of course.
It's so nice to meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a fan a long time. I found you guys when it was This Is the Show. And I just want to say that was a very perky show. That show busted a lot of myths.
Oh, no.
You guys cleaved right to the issues with that show. It was a great show.
Yes.
So I just want to compliment you on that.
I dig them. I dig them.
So, and all those of you listening on radio, I'm extremely handsome. Just want everybody listening on radio. Really handsome guy. So yes, my wife and I, we live in Portland, and you're kind of always wondering.
Wait, like Portland?
Portland, Oregon.
Like, aren't they like shutting down chapels there and stuff?
Yes.
Because like Antifa, like Molotov cocktailing.
Like people fleeing from violence.
You know how they're retrofitting the Salt Lake Temple with earthquake-proof stuff?
Yeah.
They're retrofitting the Portland Temple with like riot control fire hoses for the zombie hordes.
Oh my
Similar. That's a joke. That's not actually.
Okay, well,
but they should.
It's funny you mention that. Okay, I may or may not known a temple engineer that designed the sprinkler system so that if necessary, it could also spray the sidewalk.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, you got too many protesters and you need to get them out of there. 7 o'clock, the sprinkler system comes on. Got to water the lawn. Yeah, we're just watering the lawn, officer.
Oh, Portland's rough.
So anyway, no, I heard that there was actually like one of the oldest chapels in the West, like built in like 1918 or 1921.
Yeah,
has been occupied by a Portland congregation in continuity for over 100 years. Is having to shutter its doors because they're just utterly fleeing
That's
the
right.
city because Antifa won't stop protesting and vandalizing and doing all that. You know, all the John DeLynn buddies.
The whole center of the city just hollows out. No families are living. No humans. Well, no sentient humans are living in the middle of the city. It's all zombie hordes.
That's what I thought you meant with
Yeah.
the zombie horde thing was like
Yeah, that's-
druggies or something.
Dude,
Oh,
I'm
the
telling
drugs. Oh, I'm sorry.
you, the minute we're sitting on top of the Manti Temple with our shooting.
No, I'm,
Las
I'm
Vegas
thinking,
transplants that are
I'm
coming
thinking
down.
Ma Deuce 50 cal. The Ma Deuce 50 cal, man.
What are you
the
guys
223 is too small.
Yeah.
We're talking about the caliber.
It's
of
common,
that.
Brad.
I will be on top
No,
of the
I know
Jordan River
that. I
Temple.
mean, why? Never mind.
coming,
Because in
Brad.
the zombie apocalypse, 223, it's a varmint round, not enough for a 200-pound zombie. You know what I'm saying?
The zombie
We gotta-
apocalypse is happening in Portland as we speak. It's going down. They legalized everything. If anybody doesn't know this, Portland and Oregon legalized everything. And so, like, you could be caught on the street like, hey, man, want to buy some uranium-93? And there'd be no penalties at all for you. The police, there's like 2.5 police left in the whole city. They don't enforce anything. And so you can get every drug, and there's hordes of half-sentient, comatose, yet animate corpses walking around all the time. It's
man.
terrifying. It's terrifying.
Jeez, that's crazy. And
It's
that
horrifying.
inspired you to write this beautiful
And
book.
that's why.
That's a segue. So, like, tell me about this. What you
Yes.
were going into the story before I interrupted you about the Portland thing. Hit it.
No, so okay, so question for you guys. So what country has the most members of the church? Percentage-wise, let me say.
Percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise.
Oh,
Do you know?
geez, man, who knows?
I'm
If
gonna
two
guess.
people get baptized in
Guess.
Guess,
Brazil?
Brad, what's your guess?
It's Peru.
No, it's actually Tonga.
Oh, that makes
Really?
Tonga has
okay.
over 60% members. Now, there's only 65,000 people on the island.
Okay.
Then after that, you have, if Utah was its own state, or if Idaho was its own state, you go on down. Imagine if every man, woman, and child in America, 350 million people, converted to the church. It'd be biblical. That'd be huge, right? For thousands of years, prophets would remember that. It'd be a big deal, right?
Yeah, totally.
If every person on earth, we just passed 8 billion people at the end of 2022. If 8 billion people all converted to the church, it would be huge, right? Missionary work like the dream, right? That would still be less than 10% of all the people who have ever been on the earth of the human family. If we converted every single person on the earth, 8 billion, you're still less than 10% of the 117 billion of God's family that have been on this earth. So in 1837, Joseph Smith says, the most important work we have is to preach the gospel. In 1844, he revises it, and he says, the most important duty we have is to seek after our kindred dead. Because if it's just a numbers game alone, 10 times, I mean, if you were to convert everybody, you wouldn't break 10% of the people who've been on the earth. So family history is huge. The second vision Joseph Smith had was Moroni appearing to him 4 times and repeating the prophecy of Elijah. It's the first canonized section of the D&C. Family history is arguably the reason for the restoration. It's huge, and we don't emphasize it enough. We don't understand it enough. The church and the gospel have it, but the lay members of the church don't understand the importance of family history like this.
It's funny you mention this because one of my buddies, shout out Fedence, who works for, I can't remember if it's Ancestry.com or My Family Search or one of those big genealogical search engines. He told me the story that there was like this stake president in this area that he served, or I don't remember where, but the stake president took very seriously the promise that like you will usher in the help of your ancestors and reap massive blessings if you just engage in the redemption of your kindred dead, right? And so he actually adopted that phrase as that year's youth slogan and actually had the youth starting at 12 years old learning how to do their genealogy and how to like make their pedigree charts and how to do all of that and start searching. And apparently the youth was that stake was plagued with all kinds of problems. Everything from substance abuse at an early age to, just catty gossip to this, that. And he said never before in all of his time there had he seen more problems just magically go away than when all of these young people started learning who they were, where they came from, all of these great things that their ancestors had done to sacrifice to get where they were. And he's like, they started just behaving like regally, like I am the descendant of the man who invented the rubber of the wheels that the tanks used on D-Day. You know, I don't know, tanks don't use rubber, but like, you know, still, it was like they were just like walking around with this like totally different BA attitude. And he was like, if the youth worldwide could just do that,
yes,
it would absolutely change the game.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
you know,
so in the 90s, so the catalyst for this whole thing is in the 90s, back when the government actually cared if families were strong or not. There was a lot of money and grant money. And
and also we had strong leadership that was, you know, convicted of their ideals and took strong stances.
I know what you're saying.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's
so these researchers go out and they start looking at what makes families strong. Their goal was to figure out what makes children strong. And these researchers came back with their results after doing a longitudinal study of thousands of children all across America. And they come back and they say the number one thing that predicts the self-assurance and the high functioning, the emotional resilience, and happiness of a family and of children is knowledge of their family history. More than having two parents in the home, more than socioeconomic status or education.
What? Repeat that. That's intense.
It was knowing their family history. And it's this you can go Google it. It's amazing the study that they created from it. And many of these researchers changed their careers to then only go study this because they were so shocked at the results. Robin Fivush, fantastic researcher, has done a lot of work on this. Robin Fivush.
Okay, wait, but I want you to repeat what you just said. You listed off 4 things. You said nothing impacts more the emotional resilience. I don't want to repeat that. Just repeat that.
The number one indicator that they found of all the things they studied, the number one predictor of a child's emotional resilience, self-assurance, the high functioning of a family, and self-reported happiness.
Wow.
The number one indicator was knowledge of their own family story, their own family history. And it didn't have to be super far back. It wasn't like, back 1,000 years ago, we crossed the channel. No, it wasn't any of that. It was, where did your grandparents go to school? How did your great-grandparents meet?
What?
You know, things like that.
Did they have any idea why that was the case? Like, was it because it gave them like a stronger identity, or what?
Yeah. So then they go try to figure it out. And these sociologists descend and they're trying to make sense of this. And what they come up with is that if you think about your personality is made up of memories. It's made up of memories that you have of yourself. Memories, they form who you are. And
this is actually, I have this highlighted in your book because I thought Kwaku would be jumping into is like the cloud of all. Okay. Okay, so keep hitting this.
So your memories, the language that your brain speaks, the language it speaks, if you think about, digitally what software speaks or what different languages between humans or body language, even animals communicate, the language that human brains speak is stories. That's the language they speak. That you can look up these mnemonic guys. You ever seen these guys who memorize strings of code? Yeah. They memorize random strings of numbers to have a contest who can memorize the most, like pi, memorize the digits. Mm-hmm. The guy who won revealed how he did it. He memorized 200 characters in 20 seconds. And he can repeat them all. The guy who won said, I made it a story. This character was a guy, and this character was then he walked over here. The dash mark is him walking, and here's a cane that he's using, and he made the characters into a story, and that's how his brain retains it. Your brain speaks in stories. And so telling your family story is the most direct and powerful way that you can implant memories into your children's brains.
And that's why the anti-Mormons go after the narrative first.
Yes.
To try and disassociate you from your past.
Oh,
because what happens individually, knowing your family story, happens communally as a people. Mm-hmm. Joseph Smith wasn't a good man. He was actually a bad man. Thomas Jefferson wasn't a good man. He was actually a bigot. I'm just waiting until they come after. Actually,
and that's why Norsemen pass on their history through sagas. That's what we've always done. Yeah. When you're studying family history, if you're studying names and dates, it's just a snooze after a while. You just can't do it. You can't keep that up. That's why children don't care.
So you got to do it with stories.
But when you make it into stories and activities, and that's what our books try to do, then it actually has an impact and they like it, and it informs their identity. They start to see themselves as a floor on a house, a car on a train, as a chapter in a book. All the things that your ancestors have done, their proclivities, their intuitions, their sensibilities, parts of their personality are in you, literally in you. And that is who you are. And the whole world's trying to offer them false identities. And this is one way that you can give your child a real identity in their family history. So,
well, it kind of looks like you can also do it together. So, I mean, I'm totally burying the lead here. We're like 13 minutes into the podcast, and I haven't finished talking about this book.
yes,
Right here.
yes. I am my ancestors.
Thumbnail. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway,
So this book came about.
yeah, tell us about it.
So we wanted something that parents could sit down with their child and they could open it up and they could read it. It's all in rhyme, so it's fun.
Yeah, it reads like Dr. Seuss.
It should.
Yeah, wait,
Every
hold on.
syllable.
There was a good one here where I was like, perhaps there is rhythm inside of your mind from gifts that your forgivers left you behind. I was like, this is like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yes,
You know what
supposed
I'm
to be.
saying? I'm loving this.
Yeah, I don't understand why every children's book isn't like Dr. Seuss. Like, why are we still writing children's books that aren't in iambic pentameter, that don't rhyme? Like, why do we do this? He set the standard, and it's been downhill. Anyways,
Well,
I have
because he's
kids.
probably racist and
No,
culturally
No. It's
appropriated.
because recent art, recent poetry
Is
is kind of bad.
No, but didn't Dr. Seuss get canceled? No, he got canceled
did?
like
but
3
not
years
re-
ago.
no,
he didn't
Yeah.
get canceled recently enough for
Oh,
what
so
we're
he's
talking
back.
about.
No,
No.
first,
It
guys,
was-
come on. Let's be honest. There were a bunch of Dr. Seuss copycats. They just sucked.
That's
Yeah.
also true. Yeah.
You know, there are publishers like, we got to have you got Dr. Seuss, we got Mr. Mickle. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
This
right.
is the book called the Dog and the Blog. Whatever. It was None of it was good.
Dog in the
No,
blog.
but people also gave up on rhyming because they're also very bad at it.
That's true. Poetry is a lost art in America.
They're mostly bad at like fitting the meter and
You know what
making
the
it work.
best thing is in the church no one knows?
What?
An epic written by Orson F. Whitney called Elias, an Epic for the Ages. It is like this thick. It is the entire restored gospel
What?
written in King James rhyming poetry.
Cool.
That sounds amazing.
I have some memorized.
Book review. Recite it for us.
Declare, O muse of mightier wing, of loftier lore than mine, why God is God and man may be both human and divine, why sons of God mid sons of men unrecognized may dwell, so massed in dense mortality that none their truth can tell. Father, the voice like music fell, clear as the murmuring flow, from mountain streamlet trickling down from heights of virgin snow. Father, it said, since one must die thy children to redeem, from spheres all formless now and void, where pulsing life may seem. Father, lead me to lean this lone world when wander from the fold, 12 legions of the noble ones that now thy face behold. And that's all I got.
Wow.
Dude, that's awesome.
Dog.
Yeah.
That's so. Is it
Excellent.
pretty sick? Is it like
No, it's
reading the
amazing.
Iliad or
it's
what?
amazing. There's another one, D&C 76. Joseph Smith and W.W. Phelps wrote a poetic version of D&C 76.
What?
Interesting.
I will go to the saints that have died, to the next better world where the righteous reside, where the angels and spirits and harmonies be, in joys in a vast paradise. Go with me where there's no destruction or war. There's no, like, I used to have the whole thing,
Oh,
but it's
wow.
pretty BA.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Amazing.
Wait, why'd you memorize it? Just for kicks and giggles or what?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think it's also because rhyming stuff is just more fun. And I wish we had more rhyming stuff. And so I'm really glad that you're doing that. Also, anyone watching, if they're like working on a children's book of their own and they want to like make it rhyme in a way that actually functions,
It's got to be rhyme.
do the Pokemon theme song. It's written in technically common meter. That means there's a lot of like old English poetry that actually fits directly into the Pokemon theme
Or
song.
you
So-
Shakespeare, Pokemon theme.
Or use the Cardi B song WAP.
Ooh.
no, do not do that.
How does that go? How can you recite? Have you memorized that one
Get a
too?
There's some
bucket
whores.
and a mop with your ancestors.
no. But
Wait.
No, my wife's gonna watch
it makes it really simple to like check your meter and make sure it's good.
Where would you get the epic of Orson F. Whitney recited in the same podcast as
Wow.
Some
Why,
old,
you know,
Only
there's-
Midnight Mormon.
What a strange
There's an
place.
there's a retired English woman somewhere who subscribes to Fair Mormon and the More Good Foundation, and her algorithm is going to recommend this genealogy video, and before you know it, she's going to be hearing us saying
what
like,
is this
"Get a
about?"
bucket and a mop, your ancestors."
Oh. What are these little boys
Oh,
doing?
she's gonna be mortified.
This is WAP for kids.
Oh my gosh.
I like to eat 11 days a week.
Oh.
There's an actual wop.
That
pizza.
crust with extra cheese.
I think it's worse than the original.
Yeah, we feasted.
Is it put the rose in my mouth?
Yeah, it's
Feasting on
terrible.
a what?
On wings and pizza. It's about food.
Oh,
What accursed company made this?
Kids Bop.
What?
It says Kids Bop.
That's
here.
worse than the original. That's more suggestive than the original. It's like,
What do we got? It's like, okay, Cardi, what do we... wings and pizza? All right.
Yeah.
Put it in.
sounds good.
Everything else was worse.
Wings and pizza, cheese on top. Get a bucket and a mop.
Oh.
Please.
So family history for
yeah,
kids.
so back
back to family history.
Back to making our ancestors proud.
Proud of us. Yeah. Okay. So,
Did you find anything yourself while doing this that really inspired you, or do you have any stories where people have done this and it's been amazing, or what?
Well, the full story is that when I was 26 years old, recently married with a kid and a half, I had I came to a very sudden and solemn recognition of my own mortality. That
Okay.
I have a heart condition. It's not like mortal or any. Well, I don't think it is. It will be eventually, but coming to that realization, you never really think that you're mortal. You know, and I was 26 years old, and so I thought, who's going to teach my kids when I'm gone? Who's going to tell them the story when I'm gone? Is really kind of where it came from. And so we started researching family history. I've written thousands of pages of our own family history, and it's incredibly inspiring to hear what they. And you think of yourself differently. The way you view yourself, it changes your memory. Collective memory. And the researchers found this. They found that intergenerational memories were created when you told these stories to these children. They would remember. Imagine the metaphor is, I coach my kids' soccer team.
Yeah.
Little kids running around this grassy field, have no idea what they're doing. And all the parents are saying, run over here, no, run over here, and the kids are just like running around. It's crazy and chaotic, right? You've seen these. And I realized like these kids have never actually seen a game of soccer. They've never actually seen a game played. And so I took a game and I got it on YouTube and I showed them an aerial view of what a soccer game looks like. Imagine that. And because you're telling them over here, over there, they can't see the lines. They don't know where the goals are. They don't know the rules.
It just becomes Bumblebee Ball. And
It's
they
all
start,
crazy.
Yeah,
And
they start
just
kicking
like that. Your children, your teenagers, they're on an island. They're wandering around this wilderness. They don't know what's going on. And we're shouting commands at them from the sidelines, and they don't know what the heck to do. They've never seen a game played. Family history is showing them a game that has been played. Here is your forefather. He once was a kid too. He once had to get a job too. He once had to find a wife too. He had problems, and this person betrayed him, and this person hurt his feelings, and he was really sad, and then he got over it, and he built his way up. He didn't start perfect. You know, here's his story. And when they see the game played, they go, oh, that's how it's supposed to be done. They've never even seen an example of these lives we're begging them to live. We're telling them to live. They don't know what it's supposed to be like.
No. Not to get all conspiracy.
Heaven
But
forbid.
I do think there's an element of rejection toward the idea of family history from the mainstream world, because when we learn about our ancestors, we start learning some things that contradict history as we've
Well,
been
he's
taught.
got a chapter for that. Actually, look at the second bookmark.
Yeah, quick.
May I read to you about mistakes?
Let's hear
We're
it.
reciting
Okay.
a lot of poetry today.
So let me see. Now, sometimes your great-great-grands may not have been grand. They may have done oopsies you don't understand. And by the way, these are very diverse oopsies. You know what I'm saying? If you mess up, don't cover your eyes. If their deeds weren't ideal, without the full story, they do not feel real. They started like you, just a little human pup. And like you, they had troubles. At times, they messed up. If you mess up too, a pup you'll still be. You're part of this pack. You're in good company. Life's not a race. Get used to mishap. But learn from your four chaps. Great word.
thank you.
They left you a map. So
That's good.
boom shakalaka.
Yeah,
And it's
I
actually
like
kind of funny. We had a convert girl once in our stake that was invited to do genealogy for the first time, and everybody's getting up and talking about how like great their experiences was and so on and so forth. And like the first person she found that wasn't on her immediate pedigree chart, she found out like was a repeat murderer and like had
jeez.
killed like 7 people in like Tennessee
dude.
in like 1912. It was called like the Nashville Strangler or something. And she's like, ah!
Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
For example, there's a video I watched on YouTube of a guy who poured into his family history. And he had enough money. Like, he was one of those tech guys that made a ton of money. So he was just like do fun stuff.
Cool.
He ended up going to the town that his like great grandfather lived in, and ended up buying some heirlooms of like from him, like that were his. And his journal had weird stuff in it about like rewriting maps on behalf of the United States government
What?
to like mislead people. It's like weird stuff. That's why all this Tartaria stuff's becoming so big right now and everything, and like all this like.
So do your genealogy because you might discover the lost land of Tartaria.
Is that
Yeah.
That's the title of the video.
Do your genealogy and you figure out that they changed your great grandfather's name when he was one of the kids on the boxcar kids.
Oh, on the orphan train.
yeah, the orphan trains. And you
Oh.
discover, okay, what were they? What you know?
Well,
there's a lot of
I definitely think you are much more firmly rooted in what the truth of history is when you learn from primary sources of people that lived it instead of secondary sources of people that whitewashed
you
it.
just made
No,
my point
that's true,
for me,
though.
Cardin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
No, like I know a lot about, for example, lies told in Western Europe about the French from the English, about the Spaniards and the Inquisition and so on and so forth. Like we have adopted a lot of propaganda. Like for example, Napoleon wasn't short; he was average. It's just like all the other guys. You know
Yeah,
what
it was
I'm
average
saying?
size, promise.
Yeah. No, he was 5'4" and he was diminutive. You know what I'm
No,
saying? But
look. There's nothing small about the. Depending, I mean, whatever she said was not true.
he wore pearls. He wore pearls. So anyway,
I wish. No. What I'm saying though is that maybe the fact that we've been lied to so much about history, maybe that's the reason why we care so little about the history that's been presented, because we subconsciously know it's not true.
Well, so there's a
Or maybe there's things more important than materialism, and corporatism and Satan work so hard to make us get caught up in the thick of thin things. It's easy to forget.
Good phrase, the thick of thin things. That's a good phrase.
Yeah. Oh, why? Thank you.
it's a
Craig.
very good phrase, Garden.
You know what I'm saying? And one of those thin things is materialism and short-term thinking instead of like genealogy and long-term thinking.
It's like what you were talking about earlier when that stake started focusing on their family history. All
Yeah.
of these other things started to go away because guess what? I think there's actually more to this on the other side of the veil than we like to think about or even remember. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think our
Cool.
ancestors are on the other side and they want us to succeed and they want to be there for us. How many stories have you heard of people who, when they go to, like, if they have a near-death experience or if they are dying, they like feel like someone is there with them and it's a relative.
It's undeniable.
Who's close by, you know? I feel like there's so much to this ancestral connection that we should be focused on.
tapping into.
Like literally, this one, I'll share it because I think it's
Is this when your
important.
kids saw your relative?
Yeah,
Oh, this is amazing.
I'll
Hit it.
share. I'll share part of another one.
Okay.
It's slightly different. So raising our kids, my wife would pray and ask to have our little daughter be watched over by some angels to watch her to help her sleep, and it worked. And my wife got the distinct impression that there were 4 women who would show up, and she was trying to figure out who they were and trying to understand who they were. And she started.
This is awesome. Okay.
She started realizing that, like, okay, one of them was her grandma Della, another was her, another of her grandparents, another was my grandmother, and then there was one that she didn't understand, but she was like, this one is musical, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this one that makes her musical, but she's there for our daughter and watching over her. Is there someone musical in the family? And we talked to my mom about this. Her grandma Isabel loved playing the piano for silent movies. And it was just this wonderful woman and was always playing the piano. You'd get home from school, tell her like, hey, here's this Van Halen song I learned, and like you'd hum it for her, and she'd play it on the piano, and like,
Yeah.
that was who she was.
And Riley didn't know this at the time.
And Riley had no idea that I had this hyper musical great grandma.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it was really incredible to see like just this thing that came over our family as she was praying to have this family connection. Literally, she just asked for angels to be there for the family. And then we like found this deeper stuff about our family out over time. And
That's
it was
awesome.
It was so amazing.
That's
to see.
awesome.
Hey, so do you think, so Jonah, riddle me this. And it's so interesting you talk about that, Brad, because when we were starting this, I wrote down this question on here that I wanted to ask. or a potential title for the thumbnail, actually. You can summon the power of your ancestors, ! But I wanted to ask you if we could do it before I make that very bold
No,
claim.
I think you call it necromancy for children.
Yeah.
And you can just go for it. Just go for
So
it.
do you think you can summon the power of your ancestors like many of the ancient faiths and ancient philosophers thought you could, or what?
I don't think you can summon any of them because they can do their own thing.
not like
But yes.
ancestral projection. I'm saying, do you think you can like he said, summon angels to protect my daughter while they sleep, and then kind of it's not summoning as in like I want to see the visage and speak, but do you think you can invoke? That's actually a better term. Invoke the power of your ancestors.
The most powerful thing that you can get from your dead ancestors is to teach your children their stories. That's the most powerful thing. Whatever other help that you can get, physical protection and those things, yes, you can. We know you can. Brigham Young said you could. But the most powerful thing that you can do, that you can get from your ancestors, is to tap into their stories, to infuse them into your children, and to fortify your children against the false identities in the world. That's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Okay, and how does your book help do that? Because it seemed pretty practical, but I want you to be able to plug this for any other parents or soon-to-be parents, because we know we got a lot of Gen Z people that are dating and stuff like that. We hear them in the chat and everything. How does this book help them do that practically?
So it goes through it has different themes. Each kind of section has different themes. It talks about where ancestors came from and troubles that you have and foods that they ate and things that they said. And it tries to liken, like, these people were like you.
Yeah.
They were just like you. You know, you're not that different from them. They understand you.
And you got like a whole little thing of activities.
Activities in the back, that you can do to get your family engaged, so that your children run around the soccer field and they have an idea what it should look like. They think they've been through this. I'm not alone.
Yeah. And it gives them a pattern to live their lives after. And often what's cool is, I don't know, for me, because my dad's way into genealogy and he's told us so many family stories.
Wait, but he's not like in his 80s.
Yet.
Okay.
But he tells us all of these amazing family stories. And one thing that I think is amazing is you get really phenomenal, like, examples of what to do and what not to do sometimes, like,
yeah, dude, the Whitbecks, I heard about those bar fights in the 1860s, man.
you're literally not wrong.
People.
You're not wrong
shut
at
up,
all.
really?
No, like,
Was your great grandpa like a savage that shot a man in Reno just to watch him die, or what?
no, not murderers, but there's like a really bad reputation amongst some of the Whitbecks. So like, you're not far off.
It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys of Canada. It's
Not
like
quite that.
The Whitbecks and the Williams.
Not quite that, but like it's really, really intriguing because there's like I think especially when you learn about it for your ancestors, it's easier for you to see it in yourself.
Yes, that's it.
And that's what makes it stick.
You start seeing it in yourself, and your kids start seeing it in themselves. Instead of being an island, they start understanding themselves and their place in the world.
And I think that overall helps you contextualize all of history down the line because it enables you to put yourself in those people's shoes more easily.
Yeah.
Because you've started with your own ancestors and people who you are going to kind of love and strive to understand a little bit better because you're related to them.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely
right. I think it helps you view everyone else as a child of God more.
So so I'm doing this. I want to jump right in. Do you think this is a good place for a family to start? Is just get the book and start just doing. Do you feel like this is pretty comprehensive?
So,
or is it just for kids?
Family history was made for man, not man for family history. If you're young parents, okay, and you don't want to do family history because your dad has done a lot of it or whatever, you need to know your stories before you pass them on. You don't have to be a super genealogist.
Okay.
But just talk about your stories and where you came from and things like that. Get ready, get armed with that information, and tell it to your kids when they're young. And it's amazing that they internalize it, they eat it up, and then they'll say it. They'll be in the schoolyard and they'll say, and I was thinking about my great grandpa and he would have done this. And when they hit challenges, the other part of the study that they did is 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
After they'd studied these kids. And 9/11 happened and they went back to look at the kids who knew their family history. And the ones who knew their family history recovered from the emotional trauma of 9/11 faster than the kids who didn't. So
really?
Yes. So they look at trials and they've heard trials. They've heard about their forefather who fought in the trenches in World War I and the Spanish flu and these horrible things. And so when they see a horrible tragedy, they think, this too shall pass. life will go on. It's okay. And they pick themselves up much more easily and faster than elsewise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude, we got to go to Central Park on some big family soccer Saturday deal and just see if we can't get 10 families who don't know their family history that well and just help them get it. And then see if we can't make our own like little informal longitudinal survey and see if we can replicate that data. That's intriguing. So, okay. So how can people get a hold of you and get a hold of this and start the I Am My Ancestors journey? How can they do that?
So it's available on Amazon or cedarfort.com. You can also go to turninglittlehearts.com and you can find these things out. We sell them also at Roots Tech. We don't make any money off these. We're believers in the cause. We really want people to do their family history. So it's going to be inexpensive. Heck, I think you can PDF download it for $1 or something. Go to the website, Cedar Fort, Amazon, or Turning Little Hearts. Check it out. It'll make your family better. It'll make parenting easier.
Yeah, and also shout out.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Like,
Unless
literally,
you figure out you're related to a horrible, horrible person.
No, that's not true. No, it's
Don't
not.
make me summon the Ted Bundy on you.
Adolf Hitler?
Oh my gosh.
Oh wait, what do the Asians do? Because like 1 out of 4 Asians are descendants of Genghis Khan.
Yeah, he's far enough removed though.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't make me go Genghis on you.
There's
Remember
a
great
song.
grandpa
It's a
Genghis?
long-
you would have
It's
to
a long
go
way back.
so far back.
Long
I
way
had a
back.
pop song named after him. That's how far away it is.
Okay, yeah, but I'm a direct descendant of Charlemagne. He did a lot of conquering in
Cool.
France.
Hey,
Yeah,
me
that's too
too.
far back.
Me too,
You
man.
know?
It
So
shows.
it's like-
It shows, Carden.
Yeah,
it
that's
explains
true.
a lot.
That does. The other side of me was just Slavs, and the word slave comes from Slav. So, no
You conquer
no
and-
glamour there. Although my grandpa did escape the Nazis at 14 years old.
Killer.
And was imprisoned in 2 different countries before escaping to a contingent of the Polish Navy that was fighting with the RAF. And he helped invent parts of the radar to shoot down the Bf-109 E jets that were the first German planes to get made with jets. He was like 17 years old when he was doing all this. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, it's like freaking totally BA.
You got to tell that story to your kids. That's
it's-
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. You know what I'm
My
saying?
great grandpa has some dark stories about fighting the Nazis.
Really?
Like getting abandoned. But I don't know the military phrases very well. But
Marooned?
yeah, with him just a couple other guys.
Okay.
And they didn't have a lot of weapons. And he describes having to kill a dude with a makeshift metal that he'd
jeez.
bent and just hack this German guy to bits. Just
Dude.
like blood
Oh.
is everywhere. You're like, never
Dude.
recovered.
It-
Never recovered from that.
Kind of on those similar lines. So my grandpa, I don't know if I'm able to share this.
Oh, do it. Come on.
So
He's going to die in 10 years anyway.
well, he's already dead.
Oh, okay. So he's probably in heaven right now, not worried about any of the social norms you might violate, saying, yeah, tell my story. You know what
okay,
I'm saying?
so this was actually
Witness me.
so he was a farm boy in Canada, right? But he went into World War II and was fighting the Nazis out there. When he got back and he was reading the Book of Mormon, one of the most transformative things for him that really gave him a testimony that the Book of Mormon was true was the story of Tiankum.
Oh, you're telling me this story.
Because as he was reading this, he was like, okay, Joseph Smith was a farm boy in New York. I was a farm boy in Canada. Joseph Smith writes the story of this guy who kills these leaders in their sleep in a way that I know how to kill sentries in their sleep now because I had to do it as a soldier in Canada.
Really?
In the Canadian Army. Yeah, they would have to watch the breathing of these sentries in order to kill them silently, right? And so,
jeez.
and so the way that they would do it is but he
Draw us a picture.
recognized it.
Let's
Between the
demonstrate.
ribs when they're taking a breath in so they can't scream.
Well, let's get a knife.
And he understood hey, Joseph Smith could not have known that because I couldn't have known that before having gone through the experience I did, Wow. And so he was like, this
That
is a huge
is man
Cool.
card stamped. Like that and the dudes in Vietnam that were the short guys. This is one way where I've been spared. Like I could never be in the Air Force. 6'6", you don't fit in the plane. They won't let you. I could probably maybe pilot a C-130. You know what I'm saying? But dude, Top Gun ain't gonna be this guy, right? But a job I ain't gonna get is the small dude in the platoon had to get the handgun and go down into the tunnels in Vietnam You know what I'm saying? And find where they're that. If you did that, you are automatically BA.
Yeah.
Just like automatically BA, dude.
No, I have a sort of great uncle or someone who in Vietnam who literally got there and said no, refused to fight.
Really?
Would not do it. He said this whole thing's a con. Would not do it. I think he got
wow.
like dishonorably discharged or something.
Oh, dang.
But he was like, yeah, this thing, and he ended up being right.
So speaking of military, so one general, I can't remember who said, you cannot understand war in abstract. It's only understood in the lives of individual soldiers. Similarly with history, you can't study history from historians who come later and write these big books. You have to study individual lives, and all of us descend from people who lived through these great events. And if you study them and their experiences, it'll make history, first of all, more vivid, more accurate, and it'll actually mean something to you.
Yeah,
it'll inform who you are.
Makes you appreciate it so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So one last time, where can they get your book?
You can get it right off Amazon or Cedar Fort
Lit.
Publishers or turninglittlehearts.com. I'm Ancestors.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us today, Jonah. This is Midnight Strike Through Mormons. We'll see you guys in the next program. Hey guys, Cardinellis here again. Thank you so much for spending the time to watch this video with us. We know that you have a lot of things you could be doing right now with your attention, but you chose to spend it with us. For that, we are grateful. If you would like to express your thanks, please let us know you liked the video by pressing the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you've subscribed. About 42% of our viewers have yet to create a YouTube account. I know a lot of people are averse to that idea, but if you create an account and you subscribe to our channel, you'll be alerted of most of the videos that come out. If you would like to be alerted of all of our videos, which is what we recommend, please press the bell icon next to the subscribe button. And nothing beats sharing this video with your friends. If you came across this video for the first time and you like our content, please consider sharing this with some of your buddies, some of your friends, your grandmother. Let them know that there's good stuff on Midnight Mormons. And if you are a person of means and you would consider sponsoring the channel, please reach out on our website. If you're of more modest means, please consider joining the channel. You can become a member of our channel, or you can also give us a contribution through Venmo. We can be found at Midnight Mormons on Venmo. No matter what, we're happy that you're here. We're grateful that you stay and you hang out. Please keep watching. And if you want to see more of this content, remember, like, share, subscribe, or die. Just kidding. This is Midnight Mormons. We'll see you in the next program.